Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Nogaro in France. It's the opening round of the FIA GT3 European Championship, about to take place on a very damp circuit. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in the commentary box is John Watson. We've got Hayley Coxon down in the pits, and we've got plenty of fans up on the balcony and up in the grandstands and up in the old, well, that's the race control tower you can see up on the top left, and they're looking forward to, well, there's the air temperature. It's chilly, it's drizzly. Entertaining race ahead, John.
Yes, cold track conditions, high humidity, and track temperature not much warmer than the ambient temperature is, so guaranteed to be sliding around on the opening laps. Everybody will be this time clearly on the wet Pirelli tyre. That tyre is common to International GT1 as well as European GT3. As we look back at the Aston Martin DB3 RS of Valom Racing Team Russia, and that car will be shared by Thomas Kimber-Smith, but more importantly Natalia Fridina.
She's going to be starting the car. You can see her in there getting ready to challenge these difficult wet conditions. She's going to be down on row 6. Alongside her on row 6 is the number 5 Russian Bear Motorsport car, Vyacheslav Maliv, starting that one at the towards the lower ends of the field, and he's looking fairly happy, fairly excited, as he may well be. Thumbs up, because it's going to be a very challenging race. And in front of him is the second Russian Bear car of Toril and Ryabov. So I think that's interesting, because they may have switched positions on the grid there. We'll have to get confirmation of that. Yeah, for some reason it's the Ferraris there in a slightly different order to the grid that we've got published up here, but we'll see exactly what happens with that afterwards. Alongside them on the 5th row, we've got the car number 14 of Nii Amorim. Well, actually they're just a little bit further up the grid than that, so Nii Amorim and Cesar Campanico are I've just been handed the updated starting grid, so there's been a few changes. So Nii Amorim and Cesar Campanico on the 5th row of the grid. In front of them, the 50 AF Corsa Ferrari. It's going to be started by Gaetano Ardangda Perez, and before handing over to Giuseppe Schiro, they are on row 4 in the Ferrari, and alongside the Ferrari on that 4th row of the grid, we've got the first of the Rhinos Leipa Motorsport Lamborghinis. Gilles Vanelay and Jesse Lane are going to be piloting that number 12 car. And a very strong field of cars in terms of brands. We've got Ferrari out there, we've got the Lamborghinis out there, we've got the Audis out there as well. And we saw earlier on, Audi's very strong.
Yes, and these conditions that seem to play to the Audi strength. They had good straight line speed, they had good stability under braking, they had good traction under acceleration. And that was a very, very strong run from the two Audis. They took first and second in the International GT1 World Championship event. And it was the Lamborghini that came in 3rd place. Again, Thomas Enger driving that along with Albert von Turnen Taxis. That they actually dominated the early part of the race, and up until the pit stops when Enger handed over to Albert. The difference in the driver's quality of the Audis just shone through in the closing laps.
So there is Jerome Dumais. He'll be in the Sainz-Lock Racing Audi, and he will be starting in 15th position. The second qualifying session went a lot better for them. They've completely locked out the front row, Sainz-Lock Racing, for the second race, but for this first race they'll be starting down there on row 3. So let's hear from the teammate in that car, Jerome Dumais starting it. Let's hear from Dino Lunardi.
Dino, starting from the 3rd row, but these conditions, they should go in your advantage.
Advantage, I don't know, because in this condition every start are very tricky, but we expect a very interesting race. I hope the weather will not change too much, because if the track dry and after the rain come back, for us it's very, very difficult to take the good choice on tires, but we will see.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that was Dino Lunardi, row 3 on the grid, and now we are into the top 4 cars, and It's the Heiko Gravity Charouz team, Max Nilsson and Mika Vähämäki, in that very good-looking Mercedes SLS, the defending champions from last year. That Heiko Gravity Charouz team. Thumbs up from the driver who's going to be starting, which is Max Nilsson, and he's going to be starting in 4th position on the grid. 3rd place on the grid is the 2nd AF Corsa Ferrari. Michael Lyons and Stefano Guy will be starting that one, and Michael Lyons taking the start, so the young Englishman will be hoping to perform a little bit stronger than the GT1 AF Corsa Ferraris managed. They struggled in the wet conditions, but Lyons, having driven a Ferrari 458 in GT1, will know all about, in British GT, will know all about the rain. Mark Sword, very impressive performance from him yesterday, wasn't he? Because he's an older gentleman, shall we say, compared to some of the younger drivers around him, but put in an excellent qualifying lap.
Well, either that or he's just aged prematurely. I'm not quite sure, but he certainly performed outside of his age category. He did a stunning job, and at one point looked like he was going to take pole position for this first of the 2 GT3 events in Nogaro, but there is the pole-sitting car, the Mercedes-Benz SLS.
Maximilian Buch on pole position. He'll be handing over to Dominic Baumann after his first stint is completed, and it was a very impressive performance from Maximilian Buch. Let's hear from Dominic Baumann. In fact, he's down there on the grid with Haley.
Dominic, tricky conditions. How do you feel you're going to fight up against the rest of this grid?
Yeah, we have a good starting position with number 1, and I hope we have the right setup for these conditions, and I hope he can give me the car as one piece. Then I think everything's fine.
Thank you, Dominic.
So, fairly confident sounding Dominic Baumann there. All his teammates got to do is keep it in one piece. Not much of a request.
No, it's not. I mean, it's a sort of a given that you would like your car to come back in one piece, ideally in the lead, and you have a smooth transition, driver to change and get back out on the track, consolidating your lead. But motor racing's not like that, and you can see the circuit. It's not wet, but those are, to me, the most frustrating conditions to race on a wet tyre, because the tyre really can't quite do what it's designed to do, and that's to shift lots and lots of water. So you tend to slide around, and it's a ponderous situation for a driver. And certainly the Ferraris that in GT1 dominated the qualifying really did nothing but go backwards in those tricky conditions, and wondering whether the situation was going to be any easier for Ferrari with Michael Lyons starting on the 3rd position on the 2nd row of the grid. Can he make any inroads into these Audis and Mercedes on the front row, or is he going to suffer the fate of his GT1 colleagues?
Yep, we'll have to wait and see. Not long until we see the green flag lap will be underway fairly shortly. As you can see, the grid is cleared. Only one mechanic next to the cars to make sure everything is all in order, and it won't be long before this 2012 season gets underway in the FIA GT3 European Championship. It'll be interesting to see the second race as well tomorrow, with Science Lock Racing locking out the front row. But we didn't see it in GT1, but it looks to me as though the sky is clearing, John. It doesn't seem as though we have rain at the moment. So if by the time we get half an hour or so into this race the track is dry enough for slicks, are we going to see any gamblers? That could be interesting.
Well, it's a punter's race. I mean, these races, wet to dry, are always the most enjoyable races to be involved with in terms of either as a viewer or the public that have come here, even in the commentary booth, because they are therefore much more difficult to predict. Teams hate it because they like to go with things that are in their control, and weather is something they can't control. So if at the 25 to 35 minute break, that's the 10-minute window when you can come in and make your mandatory pit stop and driver change, if the track happens to dry out before the pit lane opens, you're going to see people coming in and taking slicks.
So 1 minute to go before we get the green flag lap. The mechanics making their way up that little incline back into the pit lane here at Nogaro. A twisty circuit. It's the same kind of layout as a go-kart track, how it kind of backs in on itself, then a long straight down to another section where it loops back in on itself. Plenty of corners, plenty of long straights as well as this formation lap gets underway. And it doesn't look, you can hardly see any spray from the cars, can you?
Well, I mean, they're going relatively slowly at this point. We'll get a better indication towards the end of the main straight, the quickest part of the racetrack. where there appeared to be a little bit of standing water, not on the circuit but off the circuit, indicating that that end of the track maybe, and you can see the headlights actually picking up on, and there's some through turn 2. There is actually water there, as opposed to just looking like a damp rag.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's the 4 machine. Miguel Toril is going to be starting that one, and actually it does look particularly damp down towards turn 4, and as the sun gets lower in the sky, well, the sun's come out now. Actually, it was been clouded over for most of the day, and so the sun is really showing up the water on the surface.
Yeah, the biggest problem will be the ambient temperature is low, the track temperature is low, therefore it's not going to get any aid to helping the drying process.
So side by side going around turn 4, already forming up for the rolling start. The Heiko Motorsport Gravity Cheroux team are going to be taking the lead. Maximilian Buch, look at that, he's got a massive lead going down the straight. Certainly the 16 Audi not too keen to keep up.
Well, you're meant to have no more than 5 car lengths between each of the cars on the grid, and that's, I would say, at best maybe 15, and the safety, the pace car, the McLaren MP4 12C, or 12C as we are now going to call it, and the pole position Mercedes-Benz well ahead of the rest of the field, and that might be the responsibility of the Audi Mark Sud, who has not kept pace with his fellow front row sitter. Consequently, he's backing up the rest of the grid. So that'll be an interesting little thing to see when we get an information from the stewards of the meeting to say they're having a look at why that Audi dropped far enough back to the front row sitter is sharing with the Mercedes.
Trying to get some heat in the tyres then. This is the left-hander where we've seen a reasonable amount of overtaking actually in GT1 at turn 9. You can get a good exit through turn 7, the hairpin down at the bottom of the straight, the school hairpin as it's known locally. There's quite a good opportunity. There's Natalia Frodina just coming through the back of shot in her Aston Martin. It's going to be a rolling start and a 1-hour race for this FIA GT3 World Championship, and I think now the driver of the safety car seemed to have his hand out the window with 2 fingers in the air. Now I think that may be suggesting he's either being rude or he's suggesting 2 formation laps, because we had that in GT1.
We did. We had an additional safety lap, or pace lap, in GT1, and it may well be the case that that's the situation again in GT3, just to give everybody a chance to get a feel for the racetrack, even though they're running at a relatively low pace compared to how they will once the race gets underway. But it also allows them a little bit more time to build up a modicum of heat in the tyre, in the wet weather tyre, which no doubt they're all on, and also into the brakes as well.
The fans are ready. We've got a green flag waved at the final corner, so perhaps this will be the start of the race. As they exit, is the safety car? No, the safety car has gone, so it looks as though we are going to get a start to this one. We wait for the lights to go out. The 2012 GT3 European Championship season is underway, and it's a good start from the Mercedes. Very good start from the Sidelot Racing Audi as they stream past the 51 car of Michael Lyons coming up the inside. Is he going to make it into second position as they head into the first corner? Yes, he is, and the race leader goes wide, and they're still side by side. And now it's the 16 Audi, Mark Sord, moving into the lead. Little bit of a mistake from the Mercedes, and Sord is through.
Yes, good drive. The Mercedes just overran in turn 1 into turn 2. Mark Sord saw that, read it well, and it's now the challenge between 3rd, 4th and 5th with Audi, Ferrari and the Lamborghini. And Michael Lyons getting slightly boxed out as he tries to make his way around the turn 5. Now everybody's got themselves sorted out, and the Ferrari, well, basically it's lost 1 place.
Yep, side by side between the 2 Lamborghinis, a little bit further back. But can Mark Sord hold on to this lead? Is there going to be a challenge from Maximilian Buch going down into the first corner? No, there isn't. He swings it to the outside, and is he able to drive all the way around the outside? That would be impressive. No, he is not. Heading into the double left-hander, this is a frantic battle for the leads. No doubt Buch will be frustrated that he gave the lead away so cheaply at the first corner as the Lamborghinis go in together.
Yeah, and then the Ferrari of Michael Lyons dropping back 1 more place to 5th place. Similar to what we saw in the GT1 race, the Ferrari not seemingly liking these wet conditions.
Into the double right-hander at the far end of the circuit, round past the entrance to the old pits that was used here until about 2010. Celebrating its 50th anniversary in 2010 was the Nogaro circuit, and then we can see the second AF Corsa car Cateno Ardagna Perez trying to make a difference, but there's not much spray. I think this is what's catching us out, John. There's not much spray here, but down the far end of the circuit.
Far end of the circuit, we saw just prior to the race going live that a bit of bodywork coming off one of those cars or something that had been on the track from one of the support events being kicked up. Nevertheless, here turns 2, 3 considerably wetter than it is actually out of 14 into the pit straight, and then all the way down through the sequence of rights and lefts. Second gear corners not particularly quick, but the challenge is to get the power down and get the drive off coming out of turn 5 and then through turn 6, which may not be quite as easy flat as it would be in the drive.
So Marc Sord leads, Maximilian Buch is in second place, third place for Jerome Demey, fourth place for Nii Amorim, fifth place for Michael Lyons, sixth place for Gilles Vanelay, seventh place for Philippe Sladecker, and once again it's side by side for the lead coming down into the hairpin, not close enough, and then we've got 2 Audis duking it out. They look very similar, but they're not in the same team. It's the Sainteloc racing car of Jerome Demey in third place, the 15 machine, and behind him is Nii Amorim, who's driving for Team Nova Driver in the 14 car.
And he started in the 5th row of the grid, so he's had a blinding start to get all the way up from 10th in the grid up to 4th now as they go on the second lap, back down into turn 11, and the Mercedes still pressuring the Audi for the lead.
And the 2 Audis still duking it out for that third position as well. Michael Lyons is interested in getting involved, and the 2 Lamborghinis aren't far back either. Into the turns 13 and 14 we come, and Nii Amorim will be desperate to try and find a way through. The Portuguese driver challenging hard. P1, that's for Marc Sord, of course, but how long will he be P1 for? Because Buch is looking racy, and he'll be, as I say, very frustrated that he lost that lead so early on at the very first corner.
Yeah, well, having made the error, losing the lead, now he's sort of calmed down and he's focusing on the rear of the Audi. So Marc Sord is not going to have the easy advantage that he scored into turn 2 in the opening lap, and that car is going to have its mirrors filled with the Silver Star from Stuttgart, the Mercedes-Benz SLS, and as we saw in the GT1 of it, straight line speed, the Audi's got good straight line speed. Mercedes didn't appear to have any advantage, and they're looking now, well, again, Sord staying to the right, the Mercedes pulling over to the left. Better line into the corner, but he has to just turn away because the Audi's where he wants to be.
Yep, it's looking like it's shaping up to be a good battle between those two, sliding out of the little kink at turn 8. And Maximilian Buch really pushing hard to try and get ahead here. And there is then our leader, Marc Sord, down towards turns 11 and 12 once more. And it's very close behind for third position as well. Nii Amorim still desperate to make a move, but once more not quite close enough. And it's got to be difficult because those two are in pretty much identical cars. There may be setup differences between the two teams, but essentially it's the same machine they're both driving, so it's all down to driver talent as to where they can get past the Lamborghini there, flashing his lights furiously. Philippe Sladecker desperate to try and get past Gilles Vanelay in what is the Lamborghini battle over 6th position.
Can't imagine there's any benefit in doing that. I mean, everybody knows who's behind who, and everybody's out there just doing the best that they can, especially in these conditions. Concentration is simply looking one way, and I suspect the look in the mirrors, and I mean out of the rear view, out of the Lamborghini, is restricted primarily to the wing mirrors. The interior mirror doesn't do an awful lot with the slats on what would normally be the Perspex rear to the engine cover.
Different strengths around different parts of the circuit, because as they came across the line that time, there was only half a second between third and fourth, but immediately it's rocketed back up. Look at the gap now. The gap was a second for the lead, but the Mercedes is so strong in that opening sector, it's right on the back of the Audi, coming down into the hairpin once more. He needs to try something different, doesn't he? He needs to either get the cutback or try and sell a dummy, something like that.
Well, he's not got the straight line speed to challenge the Audi on the straight, so what he's having to try and do is, as we see now coming up into turn 9, is to work 9 and 10 of these sequence of corners, then into turn 11, and to try and work your competitor as hard to put him under pressure fundamentally. Oh, the back end gets wide over the curb, and again just indicates how marginal the grip is this part of the track.
Yeah, Maximilian Buch pushing very, very hard indeed, getting wide on the exit. He's already had a second place with Heiko already this year at the 24 Hours of Dubai. Very impressive performance there from the 19-year-old. but maybe his inexperience in the wet cost him down there at the first corner. There's the slide, and he did quite well to hold it.
Yeah, when he's driving hard, he's trying to catch up, take the lead back from the Audi. The Audi's managed to open it up a little bit further. Slightly unusual line going into turn 1 on the 5th lap. Yeah, we're seeing wet race indicated, so everybody no doubt has chosen the wet tyre, as we saw in GT1 earlier in the day when conditions weren't as bad. We weren't seeing the spray coming off the tyres as we're seeing in the GT3 event.
Round turn 4, and that little mistake from Maximilian Buch appears to have given Marc Sord a bit of a boost, really. And we've got the Lamborghini trying to go around the outside of Michael Lyons. Gilles Vanelay having a look, and that could cost him the move to Philippe Sledecke, his teammate. Down the back straight comes the leaders, moving offline to cool the tyres a little bit. But there's the Ferrari in the background, starting to come under a little bit of pressure now from the Lamborghini.
So again,
there they are.
Yeah, the Lamborghini looking to dive down the inside. Ferrari, for some reason, are really struggling in these slick conditions, both GT1 and in GT3. Michael Lyons has gone from starting on the 2nd row of the grid now. He's dropped down to 6th place, and Ferrari fans will not be happy. This car, the 458 and the McLaren 12C, pretty much as close as you can get in every sense of their layout to a enclosed race car, whereas everything else is very much more a true GT car. But the equivalency formula that again applies to GT3 does not allow McLaren or Ferrari to produce out-and-out race cars.
Now here's the start. Look how racy Michael Lyons was.
Well, he was keen.
Look at him. There he is on the inside line, challenging for the lead. Now we need to keep an eye out. I presume it was just a mistake from Maximilian Buch. Yeah, he's just heading wide. I don't think there was any contact or anything.
Didn't appear to be anything.
But look, Lyons is 3rd right there.
Yes, he did. He got up there, but he was overtaken very shortly. And going the long way around at this stage with the traffic, you just got to be careful. He couldn't afford to be forceful. As we get back to this race, 5 laps down on the 6th lap into turn 4, then the short squirt up into turn 5 again, taking the long way around. Marc Sord avoiding the traditional line, which of course tends to be the slipperier line. Eventually there'll be a crossover where that line, the inside line, will become the preferred choice. But Marc Sord is very clear. He wants to defend his position into turn 7, and the way he's done that consistently is run down the inside, forcing the Mercedes to the outside of the corner.
Looked a bit slidey under braking that time though, didn't he? As we see Gilles Vanelay then up into 5th position, and now closing right onto the back of Nii Amorim. Very quickly onto the back of Nii Amorim, actually. It looks as though Gilles Vanelay is, 0.4 of a second, quickest man of any of those 3 on that final lap. A 1 minute 41 dead. Currently running in 5th position. And it's not going to be long before Gilles Vanelay has a little look. Thought about going past Nii Amorim there into turn 11. But not close enough.
No, you've got to be alongside. I mean, if you stick your nose into a turn in a corner like turn 12, it's inevitable you're going to get damaged. So you've got to make sure that your pass is complete, and don't give the driver that you're overtaking the opportunity to think that he can still close the door.
Absolutely. Out onto the start-finish straight they come once more. Down into turn 1. On that last lap, 0.4 of a second was taken out of the lead, so Maximilian Buch is starting to close back down. But we'll keep an eye on this closest battle on the circuit for the moment. And frankly, you have to say, if Vanelay can get past here this first Audi, he should be able to get past the second Audi too, and all of a sudden he's in a podium position.
Yeah, well, clearly he looks the quicker of those 2 cars, and we saw how quickly the Lamborghini can be earlier in the afternoon. So it's described by Thomas Enge as a go-kart race car. Fantastic. But of course you've got to use the advantages. Look at this, the Mercedes back on the tail of the Audi, now coming down into turn 7, gets up alongside, but not really far enough to take the corner away from Marc Sord.
No, he's driving a very strong defensive race, Marc Sord, at the moment, through the little kink at 8, and you can see every time he's covering the inside line. And well, on a tight circuit like this, if you've got the inside line covered, you've got to the chap behind has got to work very hard indeed to try and get past at any point.
Yeah, you've got to find the long way around.
So let's hear from Gregory Gill there. His teammate is leading the race. What does he think of that?
Greg, how can you guys defend your position?
Yeah, I think Marc defended his position. He's done a great job. He's done a great start as well. I think the Mercedes is quicker than us on a straight lane, but on a tricky corner we are quicker than us. Marc need to stay in this position, and I will finish the race in the same place.
Thank you.
Positive thinking there, but can he hold on for the next 12 minutes before the pit stop window opens?
Well, I mean, you can see the Mercedes, Dominic Book doing everything that he can to distract Marc Sood, who is doing a great job keeping the Audi on the bit of track, denying the Mercedes the opportunity to get a run. But this time out of turn 5, the Mercedes probably the quicker of the two, and he's now got to get himself into position. But immediately the Audi will go to the inside of the track. That's the right hand side of the track as they come down towards turn 7. And you know, the teammate to Marc Sood saying that he thinks the Mercedes is quicker in a straight line. I'm not really seeing that, and any additional speed was really due to the aerodynamic too, as the Lambo gets alongside almost into turn 7 at the end of the straight.
Yeah, nearly squeezed out of road there, Gilles Vannelet, as he continues his attack on Nii Amorim in that Audi. Little think up the inside line.
Amorim was aggressive in defending. He really shut the door at the earliest chance to make sure that there was no way that the Lamborghini was going to get up through. So he's aware of what's happening behind him, and there's some of the. He likes that. They're happy with that on the pit lane. Forcing the issue now, but not into turn. Has he got it into turn 12?
Well,
and lost ground consequently.
Yeah,
he said his own teammates challenging him now, and they're side by side.
Sledecker's through up the inside, so that half-hearted manoeuvre didn't pay off at all.
No, but they're trying to come back almost. Nearly caught. Don't ever take your teammate out.
They're looking nervous in the Lamborghini garage, aren't they?
And now Natalia in the Aston Martin is being lapped, and she will never know to look forward, back, or sideways. An unenviable position for her in her first race in GT3, with a battle going on not just for the lead but for 3rd, 4th and 5th position.
So Vannelet has costed himself quite a bit of time by just going for numerous half-hearted manoeuvres, but look how quickly they're onto the back of Nii Amorim. They've got so much more speed than the Audis in front, but they can't quite get through. Now Philippe Sledecker is going to be the man to try and make the move. Sledecker in the 11 Lippert Rhinos Motorsport Lamborghini. In the 12 car is Vannelet. It's the battle for the lead going on again. Action everywhere, and once again, as we've seen pretty much every lap of the past 8, it's the the Audi glued to the inside line. The Lamborghini's still not able to get past this Audi.
But that Audi, I tell you, under brakes. The back end was just about wagging the nose of the car. So it's going to be a battle. So it's 11 Lamborghini, 12 Lamborghini. So can they do anything? We saw the loss of position. They're coming up to the racetrack where the car of Vannelet was overtaken by his own teammate, Schladek. And can we see the same repeated? But that was because of just being a little bit impatient and putting yourself in the wrong place and losing momentum.
And this is all over 4th position. So it's the third position is the first of the Audis, but then 4th, 5th and 6th is Audi, Lambo. Through the left-hander they come, and there's not much to separate them at all. This could be a chance down into turn 1 actually, and he's moving to the inside line, but the Audi's got it covered. Sledecker unable to get past still, tries to keep on the power. Has he got the inside line for turn 2? No, not quite. They're stronger at every single part of the circuit, and now Vannelet's going to come back past his teammate. So these Lamborghinis, do they need to work together, John, or do you think they should keep battling with themselves?
Well, in a sense they are working together because they're putting pressure on the Audi, but inevitably if you're right under the gearbox of another car and your focus is at that, then you're determining your pace by that car ahead of you, where the car that's following can be a little bit more selective, and the two Lamborghinis right now racing each other and letting the Audi get away with it.
Down the back straight they come, and it doesn't look as though Nii Amorim is feeling like he has to defend too much. Tentative look to the inside from Sledecker. A little bit messy on the brakes from Jerome Demey up in front in that second Science-Lock Racing Audi. He needs to be careful because he's going to get sucked into this battle before too long. Another just nose up the inside, doing everything they can to put Nii Amorim off, but at the moment he's remaining steadfast in his approach.
Yeah, and he keeps his car right in the bit of racetrack the two Lamborghinis are looking to use. Now here's a chance down into turn 12, gets the job done, or turn 11 that was, in fact. Good, clean pass. That's the way you make an overtake. You do it, execute it, and move on. So now one Lamborghini ahead, now an Audi sandwich, and another Lamborghini looking to find a way through.
Yeah, into the final two sequences of corners. And, very, very sideways from Nee Amorim. He now retains his battle. Vanelay had got back past his teammate, didn't he? So, yes, it was actually Vanelay up into fourth place. Yes. My apologies. Vanelay fourth, Amorim fifth. Sledecka is now still in sixth position.
Oh, spin!
Off goes Vanelay after finally making it through. They can't believe it in the Audi garage. He's had I didn't catch the start of that, John.
Well, I'm not sure if there wasn't the very slightest of contact between the Lamborghini and the Audi of Amorim, so we just caught it as the car went round. And he's managing to find reverse gear. He mustn't reverse onto the racetrack. Somewhere in it there are 6 forward gears. He's got them. But of course the grass is sodden and getting traction. But I mean, after a strong run to try and get back to his position and get ahead of Amorim's Audi, he gets involved in an incident in turn 2. And you can see the car's got a load of rubbish. In the meantime, Sledecka, he's the one that's benefited out of these two Lamborghinis, but he's still got to find a way past the Audi.
Yeah, absolutely. So it hasn't... I mean, I just wonder if Gilles Vanelay, we've seen him make a few half-hearted manoeuvres. It looked like he may have done that into turn 2 and been squeezed out by the Audi. But we've still got this Lamborghini versus Audi battle on the outside now. Going down into the right-hander will be Sledecka. He got a very, very good run out of the corner. Nee Amorim is struggling like you wouldn't believe out there. He's pushed the Lambo very, very wide.
And he's fully entitled to do that because he's on the racing line. Lamborghini trying to come back into turn 13, but just too short a straight. No opportunity to gain a momentum. Again, looking to position this car to gain advantage off turn 14 as they make the run across the start-finish line, and then up into turn 1 where they are now, and then ultimately maybe try and do something courageous into turn 2.
Still the gap at the front is 0.7 of a second. Marc Sord still leading ahead of Maximilian Buch, but this is the battle for, well, ultimately for third position with that Audi just slightly up in front. Has he got the undercut going down into turn 4? The Lamborghini finally getting past, yes. So Nee Amorim he was turning in and then had to back out of it. Happy days indeed there for Gerhard Twereza, who's the teammate, of course, of Philippe Sledecka. Now, how quickly can Sledecka deal with the Audi in front of him, and how quickly can this Mercedes deal with the Audi in front of him? This is the battle for the lead. Marc Sord and Maximilian Buch. Let's hear from Dominic Baumann, who's Maximilian Buch's teammate. Let's see what he thinks he should do.
Dominic, you're about to get in the car. How will you overtake the Audi?
Let's see how it's gonna be the driver's change. Possibly we change into slicks. It depends on the driver now and the condition. Now it's completely changing. It's going dry up, and let's see how it's the second driver of the Audi and do the best.
Thank you.
Slick tyres, possibly.
Well, that would be a big risk at the minute, because although the sky is lifting and we're getting a bit of blue appearing, nevertheless the ambient's low, track temperature's low, and the wipers are still actually running on the two lead cars. You can see maybe the hint of the track beginning to show improvement on the exit of 14, but there are other bits of the track where it's still, I suspect, too marginal to take a risk. And again, if you do go on the slicks, you don't have the advantage of a high ambient temperature to help you get the tyre. I just don't think anybody's going to take the risk.
The two Lamborghinis are the fastest cars on the circuit at the moment. Here's the spin. Well, this is the overtake, isn't it? So this is where Vanelay got past, and then Vanelay got past Nee Amorim, but then... Oh, did he?
Well,
can't tell.
It didn't appear. I mean, he was on the inside of the third place Audi. Didn't appear to be any...
Oh, and they're both off. 15 and 11. Jerome Demey and Philippe Sledecka have gone off somewhere on the circuit.
I think that's the end of the straight down at turn 7. No, it's not.
It's the king. It's turn 4, isn't it?
Turn 4, indeed. It is
turn 4. So...
And damage to the left side front. Those their bodywork, absolutely.
Wow.
The wing of the Lamborghini, the right front, or left front wing, down the inside.
No, he's alongside, isn't he?
No, not really. He was that no man's land, 3/4 way down. Maybe the front wing got level with the door. but the Audi had committed to take the corner, and there was the contact. But more importantly, the damage to the Lamborghini will no doubt see that car have to be brought into the pits and have the damage to the wing. There's bodywork damage on the air intake on the right hand side of the Audi. That's not particularly a problem, but the wing on the Lamborghini in the left front is a problem.
So that was Jerome Demey and Philippe Sledecke battling over third place. Are they, well, I presume they're going to try and stay out for the next 3 minutes until the pit stop window opens.
Well, they will do, unless the stewards feel that both cars, or certainly one of the two cars, represents a danger with the bodywork. As you see in the Lamborghini, the left front wing has peeled right back, and at some point it may detach and therefore create a on-track hazard.
And here's an almost move from the Heiko Motorsports Gravity Chiroux Mercedes. So let's have a little recap of exactly what's happened after all those incidents, those three spinners we've just had. Marc Sord still leads, Maximilian Buch still following him. There are those two. Nee Amorim is now up into third place in the Audi. Fourth positions is Michael Lyons. Fifth place now is the other AF Corsa car of Caetano Adangna Perez. Sixth place is Mac Nielsen trying to get past them. Then it's Jerome Demey in seventh, Sledecke in eighth, Vanelay is in ninth place.
2 minutes to go, and then the pit lane will be open. So are these two lead cars going to make their mandatory stops at the earliest opportunity, or are we going to wait and see them as we go a bit deeper into the race, bearing in mind if you're in the rhythm, in the zone, on these conditions, sometimes you gain more by staying out a little longer than bringing it into the earliest opportunity.
Now these five cars may have some fun, because we've seen the Audi and Lamborghini, these two drivers here that contacted each other a few moments ago, and indeed that incident is under investigation now from the stewards. They're starting to close in on the group of drivers in front of them. As out of the final corner comes our race leader Marc Sord, still withstanding the pressure from Maximilian Buch. It's been a very impressive drive from Marc Sord, but as they come across the line, there's only 0.4 of a second between them. That's the least it has been for a numerous amount of laps. Now the Ferraris are lapping the Aston Martin out onto the pit straight. Pit stop window still closed. We've got Ferrari, Mercedes, and then this Lambo's going to have a go at the Audi again in a minute. This will be fun.
Well, let's hope that they decide that an overtake is made either by being alongside or wait until you can do that. But clearly no action being taken in regard to the condition of both these cars. Very close now to the pit stop window, 40 seconds to go. So with that Audi and that Lamborghini make it into the pits, the bodywork will be removed. But there's the nearest we've seen the Mercedes to the back of the lead Audi down into turn 7. But again, it's still questionable. He can get around the outside. He may make the undercut, but it just doesn't appear that the Mercedes has got the grip where it counts at the end of the straight.
Yeah, I think it'll be they'll just hope for some clear air, because I think if they get a couple of laps of clear air, they may be all right. The two AF Corsa Ferraris dancing around, trying to keep Max Nielsen behind them, under braking into the hairpin, and they are starting to slowly get reeled in by the Audi and Lambo behind. But at the moment, Perez is really starting to challenge Michael Lyons, which, going from qualifying, you wouldn't have thought that would be the case. But the pit stop window is open. Are either of our front two going to come in?
Well, they're as close as you can be to the pit entrance. Once the window has been opened, Marc Sord stays out, and we see the Mercedes likewise, Baumann staying out as well, so they're going to continue. Two Ferraris coming through turn 12 with the Mercedes directly behind them. Michael Lyons in the lead of those two cars, and how disappointing it must be for him to find a car that was right at the front of the field once this race started to just fall back.
And those two are closing in on Nee Amorim, who's currently in third place, just a little bit up the road. In comes Perez. Yes, does he cross that white line?
He clipped the white line. And he clipped it with the right front.
Oh, he's gone off. Oh dear, he's missed the pit lane entry.
And he's not allowed to reverse. He mustn't reverse.
Yeah.
He must now what are you doing?
So
you can't do that.
Perez reverses up the pit lane entry, and he crossed the white line and then missed the pit lane entry. Just like Coulthard and Hamilton back in the day. Coulthard 95 in Adelaide,
So
Hamilton
the bodywork.
2008 in China. Bit of gaffer tape, that'll do.
Yeah, but principally they've got the carbon fibre front wing removed from the car now. It's a bit of gaffer tape, as you say, to ensure that all the other body panels will not detach as the driver change is completed. But time being lost. Once again, back to the battle at the front, round the back end of the racetrack through turns 8 and 9. Then the run down through 10 into 11. Mercedes all over the back of the Audi, but that's the only place it's been. It'll certainly understand the rear of the Audi because that's what it's ever seen.
Absolutely. So out of turns 12 they come. There may only be 12 cars in this race. We're expecting many more entries for Zolder in 2 weeks' time, but these 12 cars have given us some fantastic entertainment, and we're only halfway through. Neither of the leaders pit. They stay out again. So Marc Sword deciding it is not yet time to hand over to his teammate Gregory Gilbert. That's Italian.
Yeah, bravo. So clearly, they appreciate the racing spirit. And again, the Mercedes right on the tail of the Audi. As we go back to Michael Lyons, who's going to continue staying out. So one Ferrari came in at the earliest opportunity. Michael Lyons still under challenge from that Mercedes, still staying out of Max Nielsen and the Mercedes.
So Giuseppe Chiro heads out of the pits now, and he is going to resume where Michael Lyons left off, ultimately in 4th position. But the race leaders right together now. Sword is just going to stick his car there and stay there. He's not even going to get caught out by the dummy. He holds that inside line. The Mercedes is almost alongside though, and if anything his nose is slightly in front going down into the hairpin. If he can get the better cut back, nip up the inside into turn 8 and 9, but not quite.
No, by being on the right-hand side or the left-hand side of the track going into turn 7, you're always going to go the long way round, and it is physically longer than the line that Marc Sword in the Audi has been successfully holding since this race got underway some 29 minutes ago.
Now Max Nielsen challenging Michael Lyons down into the hairpin, side by side, but again it's the similar position for that Heiko Motorsport Mercedes as it is for the one in 2nd place. Just not able to get the job done anywhere on the circuit at the moment. Through turn 10, turn 9 I should say, now into turn 10. Are either of these two going to pit this time around? No,
staying out. They've got just over 4 minutes before the pit lane closes, so they're running it to the very last opportunity, which I believe is the right strategy for both these cars. Both drivers are in the groove and stay out, maximise their running quicker than the rest of the field by a substantial margin, with the exception of car number 12.
Yep, Vanelay,
which has now done a 1:39.6, which is the fastest lap so far on lap 16 of this race.
Into turn 1 comes this continuing battle between Nielsen and Lyons. I guess it's a case of which one's going to blink first between the lead two, because presumably the first one that pits is going to be at a disadvantage because the driver is still going to be in control, side by side down the back straight. Surely the Mercedes is getting the overlap. He's squeezing him, contact down the back straight, and he's gone past, but that was a big moment down the straight.
Well, there was contact. You could see the Mercedes eventually got the momentum and started. Something ran across the back of the track there.
Look at this.
Just edging across, edging further and further across. There's contact. And again, that will not be looked upon favourably by the stewards because that was a deliberate and avoidable incident. And that was intimidation.
Cars 15 and 12 under investigation. So that will be, that'll be Vanelay and DeMay, that incident we saw.
And the car now in the pits forward stop.
Yep, Dino Lunardi about to take over, but we've had the change of leader then. It is now Maximilian Buch who leads. Marc Sword is in 2nd place. Are either going to pit this time? No, they're staying out for as long as is possible by the regulations in FIA GT3, but they wouldn't have been going slowly when they made contact there, would they, John?
No, I know. When you see a deliberate move like that to intimidate or physically push another car off the track, I like to see motor racing. I'm never happy when I see that kind of move where there is deliberate contact. It was an avoidable incident and consequently will be, I suspect, looked at.
Into the pits comes Nee Amorim from 3rd position. Now I wonder if these drivers are staying out as long as possible to see if it's drying up. because if the longer they stay out, the drier the track becomes. So they may change to slicks. What are these guys doing? Those are slicks. Slicks going on the Amorim. So
that's a courageous judgment, I would say, at the minute to do that.
Cesar Campanico is going to have his needs to have his wits about him, I think.
Very much so, because bearing in mind that this is a silver, a bronze, or a gold driver. If we go back to the battle with Max Nielsen and Michael Lyons and their little tussle that's been going on, that's for 4th place. And the Mercedes again trying to take the sweep around the turn 6, get under the Ferrari's rear wing. Ferrari's quick in a straight line. Mercedes may have a little bit more grip, but Michael Lyons denies the Mercedes, as we have seen so much, for the battle for the lead coming down into turn 7. But go back to the tyre situation. I think it's a very brave judgment to put your new driver onto a set of slicks. Mind you, he knows nothing else because he has never driven in the wet so far this weekend, so he understands what the car will do on slicks.
Yeah, that's very true. So we'll keep a close eye on Cesar Campanico's teammate. As Niamare's teammate, as he heads out on the slick tyres. The lead has extended now to 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, and I suspect, whenever looking at
Nielsen, is this the chance for Nielsen? No, not close enough.
He was certainly looking like he wanted to get through, couldn't get it done. But I suspect that Baumann and Mark Sword are going to have to come in. They've only got a minute and a half before the pit lane window shuts.
This is going to be fun. Both of these two in the pits, and we're hearing that Heiko Motorsport have got slicks ready in the pit lane. Have AF Corsa got slicks or wets out? This is Heiko. There you can see the slicks in their hands.
Well, I was going to say he was shot in the pits, so he didn't. But
now here we are down at AF Corsa. Are these going to be slicks or dries? On go the slicks for Heiko. This is going to be a very, very close battle. It's going to be now Stefano Guy taking over the 51 machine, and Mika Vähämäki. I can't really see what they are. They look like slicks to me, or are they even changing the tyres? I don't think they're changing the tyres down there at AF Corsa.
Just looking at the one team that has changed to slicks, that was the Audi of Amorim, now taken over by Campanaccio, and that's done a 1:45 in its first flying lap. Still 5 seconds short, in fact 6 seconds short of the fastest overall lap.
Staying out on the same pair of wet tyres is the 51 car of Michael Lyons, now handing over to Stefano Guy, whilst the number 2 car he was battling with sits in the pits on wet.
So the
race leaders come in as well.
Yep, last opportunity they have to come in before pit lane is shut.
Very interesting call from AF Corsa. We'll see if that comes off. The slick tyres also going on the now lead Heiko Motorsport car. What are Audi going to do down here at Saintelock Racing? No change for them either. They're staying out on the same old wets.
Well, they have the slicks prepared to go on, but whereas Mercedes are changing, the Audi is staying on those wet tyres, and it's a real roll of the dice decision by a number of the teams in the pit lane to go on to slicks. I think it's still a very marginal call, just to try and get a look and see where the lap times for those cars that have gone on to slicks. It's the number 14 Audi that was the first to do so.
He hasn't come through to
hasn't done a clear lap
yet, has he?
No.
So, but also, of course, this means that the pit stops for Heiko are a lot slower. They just
an adjustment on the rear tyre pressures. So the problem.
And away they go. No change for the Audi.
But slicks
but a
on
change
this
for
car.
Heiko. So that means that. Just about got away, didn't he? That means Mark Sword's teammate then heading out of the pit lane. Gregory Gilbert is going to inherit the lead of this race. Look, you can see that it's a massive gap he's got through not changing tyres, but how much quicker is the Mercedes going to be?
It's not going to be quicker at this moment. It's going to be slower, in my opinion, because the circuit is still sufficiently wet all the way around to make it very difficult for anybody in slicks. There, the second of those 2 cars, that's the Audi that was the first car to change onto slicks, running behind a Mercedes that has changed onto slicks. Both cars, the Mercedes in particular, slithering around on its fundamentally first lap. The Audi's had the benefit of a couple of laps on those slicks, and 1:47 was its last lap compared to the 1:39 we've seen from cars on wet weather tyres.
Amorim,
look at that.
Big slide. It's not working working out. Amorim was 6 seconds slower in the first sector than the best first sector time we've had of the race so far. Across the line he comes to do a 1 minute 53.9. He's 10 seconds off the pace on these slick tyres. This could have been an ingenious move by those who stayed out on the same old wet tyres. So we still need to wait for the more to come through, and there's a big slide.
Yeah, I mean, that's the result of having slick tyres on a damp track, low tyre temperatures. The car will have a degree of grip until the tyre says I can do no more, and it will bite you if you're not prepared for it.
So we will have to wait and see. We need them to come through the timing beam once more to give you a full rundown of the order, but I think it's going to be Gregory Gilbert in the lead. And then possibly, well, we'll just have to wait and see when they come across the line. Here comes the number 11 Lamborghini, making up a position there, I think, in that battle. That's Gerhard Twarese. He's just gone past, and look, he's slicing past the cars on slick tyres.
That's the difference between a wet tyre and a dry tyre. So the Mercedes are both on the slick tyre.
Yeah, so Gregory Gilbert leads, as we assumed, but that move was actually for second position. He just sliced past him, and that number 11 Lamborghini, which has been really in the wars, is suddenly in second place in this race. Gerhard Twarese. Third position then is going to be the number 1 car of Dominic Baumann, we think, but he's still out on the slick tyres. There's Mika Vähämäki really struggling. Let's hear from Maximilian Buch. Have they got the tyre decision wrong here at Nogaro?
Max, do you think he made a mistake going out on slick?
It's so difficult to say, because some parts are dry, some parts a bit wet. But I think Dominic should manage it to stay on slick and make the best.
Thank you.
I mean, once the slick tyre gets the glimmer of a bit of a drying track, then they'll be up and running. But right now, it is still treacherous here at the end of the straight into turn 7. The Ferrari just drives up the inside without any pressure, and Mercedes unable to come back. They can't respond. Now, Baumann is not able to defend his position aggressively because he's got so much less grip than the Ferrari. Two Ferraris side by side.
That was Stefano Guy moving up into third place, essentially. I'm not quite sure. Now, the 50 car there, you can see behind, that's Giuseppe Ciro. Somehow he's down in 11th position. We haven't 2 laps down. I don't think we caught what happened to Giuseppe Ciro, but certainly things have not gone well for that 50 car, and all of a sudden he's down in 11th position.
Was that because Perez had that problem going into the pits? Overran the pits,
yes,
had to reverse back, not really permitted.
So now he's a lap down or so,
Yeah, he's lost time, and
yeah, good point. So there's our race leader, Gregory Gilbert, personal best in Sector 1. Still moving to the inside line to cool off those wet tyres. Will they last for 20 minutes?
That's like a Skeletrix car in a slot. It just finds that little groove all the way down the right-hand side of the straight, regardless of which of the 2 drivers, Marc Stewart or Gregory Gilbert. Even there's no challenge, he still gets onto the right-hand side of the track. In theory, that's probably the slightly wetter bit, which no doubt will continue to help his tyre situation. And they didn't change tyres on that Audi either.
Exactly, so they are 22-lap-old wet tyres on Gregory Gilbert's Audi, and the Scientolock Racing team are going to have a front row lockout for race 2, and they may well have played a blinder because they have a 30-second advantage back to that man in second place.
But more critically, they've got a 30-second advantage, but 20 minutes of this race remaining.
Yeah.
So whether the Lamborghini can eat into that 30-second disadvantage, again, it'll come down to tyre choice, it'll come down to track conditions. And there we're seeing discussions on the pit wall about what it was like, and was it bad? It's certainly animated, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It must be discussing that collision. And talking of collisions, look at the front left of that Lamborghini, battered, because they must have thought, when this incident occurred, they must have thought, this is our race over. We got turned in on by that Audi, that's what they'll say, and that's the end of our race. We're stuck in the grass, right at the back, have to make a pit stop, but genius tactics, and they're in second place.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair enough to say it was my corner because I was far enough up alongside the Audi, but the Audi was almost at the apex and it turned in, and that's the inevitable. If you put your nose into an overtaking position but you can't get it done before you make the turn, that's always the risk you're going to run.
Absolutely.
But of course, both drivers are never wrong. They're not necessarily both right, but they're both never wrong.
Spot on there, Watty. Out onto the main straight once more comes our second place man, Gerhard Tuarez. The fastest man on the track is still our leader, so those slick tyres need to come into their own very, very, very quickly, or it will have been the wrong decision. It's looking like the wrong decision now, and they're still lapping 8, 7, 5 seconds off the pace. So, down into the hairpin. Let's hear from Jérôme Demey. He's down in the pit lane, and he's going to be speaking for our French viewers.
Jérôme, can you tell us what happened out there?
Alors ce qui s'est passé, c'est qu'on a pris un pas trop mal départ, on est parti 5, du coup on a pris un bon départ, on est ressorti 3 du premier virage. Donc la course se faisait, plus on avançait plus dans la course, ça revenait un petit peu, j'avais un petit peu de mal avec les pressions qu'on a faites sur les pneus. Et à un moment donné, une Lamborghini, je pense que c'est Gilles Vanley qui m'a percuté en latéral. Du coup, ce qui nous a fait perdre pas mal de place. Et donc après, on a eu le train arrière qui a eu de grosses difficultés. Il y a des gros problèmes sur la voiture. Et puis en plus, on est reparti en pneus slick. Donc vu comme ça encore un peu gras, ça va être compliqué pour la suite.
Biblical in his description, isn't he?
Yep, absolutely. I think that was fully comprehensive in French, but he was, of course, referring to that collision between himself and that number 11 car. Dino Lunardi now out in Jérôme Demey's machine and is running in 9th position. Gerhard Tuarez sets his personal best lap of the race, only 0.6 of a second slower than the theoretical best lap of the race. As we continue to see this battle between the number 1 Mercedes of Dominic Baumann and, well, this isn't actually an on-circuit battle, is it? Because Giuseppe Ciro is behind him, but is a lap down. So this is the number 1 car running in 4th and the number 50 car running down in 11th. There, though, is Nii Amorim, the first man to go onto slicks, and he's about to lose out to the Russian Bear Motorsport car, the number 4 machine, headed by Sergei Ryabov at the moment. So Nii Amorim, first man to go onto slicks. Now Cesar Campanico has taken over. It's not working out.
No, it's not. And you can see that with the Mercedes, you can see it with the Audi, the track conditions. They've assumed that the track will dry in this latter, 16 minutes of the race remaining. But, you know, from experience, they should know that when the ambient is low, the track temperature is low, you're not going to get a drying track. And, okay, it's a busy circuit. It's not a high-speed circuit. Nevertheless, I can't see as the day is beginning to draw in that circumstances. So they took a gamble. Maybe do it with one of your 2 cars, but don't commit to both of them.
Yep. Down into the hairpin we come with 16 minutes remaining. Gregory Gilbert has got this one surely in the bag. Now we've got Tom Kimber-Smith behind the wheel of that Aston Martin, and he's starting to turn in some fairly decent laps. He's been closing in by 5 seconds a lap on this Russian Bear Motorsport car in front. Unfortunately, he is 2 laps down on it, but he'll still be having a bit of fun. Going past into turn 1, Tom Kimber-Smith. Interesting to see the pace of that Aston Martin tomorrow when he will be starting the race.
Well, certainly we know that Tom did a 1 minute 30 in practice, and that was just simply jumping into the car stone cold, and with a little bit more track time and a bit of work with the team, no doubt they can find additional second or 2 seconds to bring the Aston closer to the bulk of this GT3 field. So, of course, driving alongside Natalia Friendina, who is having, it's the biggest possible ask of any racing driver to come and jump into a highly competitive race series and perform at the level of a professional young racing driver who's going to have a very long career ahead of him.
There is Dino Lunardi, currently in 9th place. There's his teammate Gregory Gilbert, currently leading the race. So a real mix of fortunes today for Santalok Racing, but as I say, front row lockout tomorrow should prove hopefully as fruitful. They will hope to be on the top step of the podium again if things keep going the way they are for Gregory Gilbert in these remaining 14 minutes or so. Those different tyre strategies have mixed up the order somewhat and removed some of the battles that were out there, but the tyre strategies themselves were absolutely fascinating.
I think that the fact that some teams opted not to make that tyre choice, that tyre change, was key, rather than those that opted to roll the dice and assume that track conditions would change. The slick decision, even at the time, was the wrong decision, not with hindsight.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see Gerhard Twareza has just set the fastest first sector of that he's done so far, a 36.3, so the gaps remain pretty constant really at 30 seconds between the first two cars. Now the only thing, well,
this car, 16 lead car on wets, the Audi behind much further down the field in 8th place. There's a 6-second differential in lap time due exclusively to the choice of wet tyre on this car, slicks on the Audi, the yellow and white Audi that's running behind.
And there is 51, Stefano Guy. He was. They were another team that took the gamble to stay out on the wet weather tyres. Michael Lyons, I presume, was key behind that decision. We'll hear from him now.
Michael, it's interesting tyre strategy. It's certainly got in your advantage.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I made a good start initially, and in the last phase of the race, I was under a lot of pressure, and the feeling with the car, we were really good in the high speed, and we struggled a little bit in the slow speed. So I thought maybe if we tried slick, but I think we had to play it safe because we were in good contention, and it's a big decision. If you go slick, sometimes it can work in your favour and you look like a hero, but often you lose a lot. So
the final decision down to you.
Yeah, we chose to play it safe. Massimo asked a lot on the radio, and my final decision was to go with the safety, and it seems to be paying off because it still looks pretty bad.
Thank you, Michael.
With this kind of ambient temperature, 14 degrees, it was never going to go. It was just going to become greasy.
To be fair, if it was 14 degrees, it would be better, but the track temperature was only at 15 and the ambient's actually only at 11. That was at the start of the race. And, I don't think you need to be a rocket scientist to understand that if the ambient and track are low, and there are 12 cars on track, we haven't got 24 cars on track, then the prospect of the track drying out to take advantage at the point when the drying line appears, I might not be the brightest car in the world, but you don't need to be the brightest car in the world. That's just logical.
Drive-through penalty for car 11, spinning another car. That is a penalty that Gerhard Twareza is going to take after Philippe Sledecke came together with Jerome Demey earlier on in the race. So I don't think they'll be very happy about that, because that looked like a racing incident to me.
The difficulty you've got is if you're going to make a pass, you've got to make sure it's done cleanly.
Yeah.
And if you make a shot down the inside, in particular as it was into turn 4, you've got to make sure that you're alongside the car. But Demey was on the line and he was turning in as the Lamborghini tried to push its way down the inside. The collision occurred, and Demey has been adjudged to being the driver who suffered from an unnecessary accident or unnecessary contact. Consequently, this car 11, currently running second, it says a drive-through penalty. The pit lane here is relatively short. That's the good news. The bad news is he's got to do it at 60 kilometers per hour.
But he's got a 22-second margin back to Stefano Guy, so there is and he's lapping 2 seconds a lap quicker, so this could be interesting. It may be just enough time. 20 seconds is not that long. Here's the replay.
Again, you see he gets down the inside, but Demey is committed to the corner, and
it's front wheel to rear wheel.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I put it the nose of the car's up against the Audi's door. Demey was entitled to take his line, and the problem is once you're committed, as we keep referring to,
and a spin for the number 2 car
out of turn 14. That was exciting.
Yeah, Mika Vähämäki, and all of a sudden he's going to be coming under massive pressure because only 0.4 of a second behind him, and now alongside and in front is Dino Lunardi. So that's a change for 7th position. He tries to fight back around the outside, but not enough.
Remember, the Mercedes is on slicks.
Yeah. And he's going to have a look up the inside into turn 3, but he's not close enough. But this 14 car's on slicks as well.
So maybe with 9.5 minutes of this race remaining, there's the slightest hint, and it might only be in 1 or 2 parts of the racetrack, not the entire 2.25 miles or 3.6 kilometres, that there is a dry-ish patch. and somebody could say, well, I did get it right eventually.
Yeah, although that number 2 car is on slicks and that was the one that spun, so it can't be that comfortable for him as they stream down the back straight. So all of a sudden we've got these, I think it's just these 3 cars. That Russian Bear Motorsport Ferrari's back in there as well. So they started at the back of the grid, Russian Bear Motorsport, and now they're battling over the top 10. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's already gone.
It's gone. He'd lost it on the apex. Just whether he had maybe caught a curb with the inside wheel as they hit the apex of the corner, most likely it was something as fundamental as that, just threw the car into the spin. And there we see the guys, and not very impressed with all that hard work being done, and been thrown away, and pressure now coming from the Audi down in 8th place. So not necessarily the best day for the Heiko team.
No, indeed, they're currently running 4th and 6th, but it may well, 4th and 7th, I should say. And will Nii Amorim be able to, not Nii Amorim, the transponder hasn't changed over quite yet. Cesar Campanico, is he going to be able to find a way past? The gap has now extended just a tad, so it looks as though he will still be able to hold on to that position at the moment, Mika Vähämäki.
Yes, that little moment of excitement a lap and a bit ago, as Tom Kimber-Smith comes under pressure from the Mercedes, or is it has Tom Kimber-Smith just overtaken the Mercedes?
I think the Mercedes is going about 2 seconds a lap quicker, so it's another lap.
It's pretty clear.
Put on. That for 4th position, Dominic Baumann, with 7.5 minutes to go. So the interesting thing is going to see Gerhard Twereza has now got his gap up. We'll see when Stefano Guy comes across the line in 3rd position in a few moments' time. There is our race leader, Gregory Gilbert. The gap at the between 2nd and 3rd is now up to 27 seconds. So I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think it might have to be this lap that the number 11 Lamborghini pits, because I think it may have been 3 laps since that warning was dealt with. So he may well have built up enough time to regain his 2nd position when he exits the pits. But Gregory Gilbert still out the front. He's got a 30-second advantage back to 2nd place.
So the lead car with that comfortable 28.6 second advantage and 6 3/4 minutes of this race remaining. Looks like a job done by Audi here this afternoon. Things can change. I mean, the dry, slick tyre lap time vis-a-vis the wet tyre that's maybe been on in this lead car for the best part now of 31 laps is 2 seconds still to the advantage of the wet tyre. It's not going to really make any difference to the outcome of this race.
No, they needed it to dry up a lot quicker than it did. As we see the number 12 Lamborghini currently running in 5th position. Jesse Lane at the wheel of that one.
Do you think maybe his mother and father were fans of cowboy movies with a name like that? It's not a normal Finnish name, is it?
There's Jesse Antila, who races, I think he races in Formula Ford or something like that. So there's a couple of Jesses, but maybe they are a fan of cowboy films. Maybe it fitted nicely into place that they could do both. We're still waiting then for the drive-through penalty to be applied to Gerhard Twereza in the 11 car, but meanwhile Gregory Gilbert still out the front, still performing very strongly indeed. His lap times are not as quick as Gerhard Twereza, who's obviously been told to put the hammer down in order to build up the gap to Stefano Guy, and that gap is now up to 30 seconds. So there is the number 11 car. Surely it will be coming into the pits at the end of this lap. And in fact, let's hear from Philippe Sledecke. Let's get his opinion on that incident and the reason he has a drive-through penalty.
Philip, do you agree with the penalty?
Yeah, I totally disagree, because I got nearly the same accident. A race accident. I think.
Well, we can probably guess his point of view.
Yeah, I mean, both will not claim they were right, but they're both saying they weren't both wrong.
Yeah,
and that's always the situation. 2 cars, closing gap, contact, 1 car 3/4 way up alongside the other, and they'll argue as long as the day's long. And frankly, you know, it's a mistake. The stewards have made a judgment. There's going to be a drive-through penalty for car 11, and there's no point. You know, get on and look forward to Zolder in 2 weeks' time.
Still hasn't, or tomorrow. Race tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
so
of course, yes,
still plenty of time.
Oh, plenty of time indeed.
Car number 1 is under investigation for a pit stop infringement. That's Dominic Baumann, but we saw pit stop infringements being investigated in GT1, and that didn't really amount to anything, so there's no need to get too excited about that at the moment. Let's hear from Filip Sledecka again, see what he has to say.
Philip, do you agree with the drive-through penalty?
I totally disagree, because I got in Spa, and it was just like a race incident, and it wasn't penalty or something. So I was inside, and he let me some play. I disagree with that.
Thank you.
He thought it was a racing incident, thought he had enough of the car alongside. Surely this 11 car's got to come in pretty soon. I'm not 100% sure which lap he was given the drive-through penalty on, but he certainly hasn't made it yet, and he's got a 31-second advantage, so I'm pretty sure he'll be able to rejoin still in that second place. So ultimately not all is lost for the number 11 Lamborghini.
Yeah, and he's been lapping consistently in the middle 1 minute 39s, but there's others doing for the first time a car on slicks has now matched a car. In fact, they certainly matched a car on wet weather tyres, but already we're getting cars running in the 138s. Car 12 and car 15 are both on the 138s.
Yep, and they were the drivers that came in very early on to change to wet weather tyres. So this is interesting for reference tomorrow if we get any wet races, that as soon as the dry lap times get into the kind of 38s and 39s, then it should be about time for the slicks to come out. There is our third place man, Stefano Guy, only 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining as he goes past the old pit complex on the left-hand side, and that's Gregory Gilbert, our race leader, taking a little trip onto the grass. Is he going to keep that all together? He is just about. Doesn't lose too much time. How much time did he lose on that last lap? Probably only
he lost about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's still got a 26-second advantage prior to the incident. It'll be at worst down to 20 seconds by the time he gets back on track and gets all the rubbish that he may have picked up in the car with that trip across the grass.
And car 11 has now been black flagged. I thought he was taking his time to take his drive-through penalty. He hasn't taken it. Oh, and he's off too.
Well, that's down at the end of the straight. That's down at turn 7. That's where we saw the Audi get involved in going off track, and also now we're seeing car 11 doing the same thing. Of course, I mean, there may be no radio contact, but nevertheless, you've got pit boards, the old-fashioned, stick it out, let the driver see it. You know, if he can't see a pit board, I understand the radio. So that's not a good deal, ignoring a black flag warning.
Well, especially when there'd be because sometimes you see them ignore the drive-through penalty and then try and argue about it after the race. But if he'd have pitted and done the drive-through penalty, he'd still be in second place.
It's not like that. It's like this.
Yeah.
We run this sport, the FIA. You played by our rules. If we give you a drive-through penalty, you've got 3 laps in which you've got to carry it out, and you get a black flag, well, the team will suffer as well as you.
So I can only imagine that will lead to a disqualification for Gerhard Therese. And we're on the final lap now for Gregory Gilbert. He's going to be tiptoeing around, trying not to put it in the scenery again, even though he does have about a minute advantage, really, back to Michael Lyons. He's coming down the back straight now, Gregory Gilbert, whereas Michael Lyons is just coming out of the final corner. So it really was that pit stop tyre. Well, it's interesting to note whether it was a gamble to not change tyres or a gamble to go onto slicks. It certainly seemed like the gamble ultimately was to go onto slicks.
Oh, there's no question the gamble was to go onto slicks. You just, honestly, just look at the weather, get the ambient and track temperatures, and, you know, take the number of cars on track. It's now you can see just in some parts clearly a dry line, but it's way, way too late because we're on the final lap.
A storming drive from Marc Sword in the first half of the race. He defended fantastically against the Heiko Mercedes. A little bit of contact going down the back straight, lost him the lead, but excellent decisions in the pit lane from Side to Lock Racing. They're going to lock out the front row for tomorrow's race, and they're going to take a win in today's race. The checker flag falls, and Gregory Gilbert crosses the line. The checker flag nearly fell.
The bloke didn't even have the flag up. The flag technically didn't fall. Marc Sword saying, "Oh, what happened?
You won, Mark. Don't worry."
But the flag marshal hadn't even raised the flag to drop it and give it to the winning car.
Second place on the road is going to be Gerhard Therese, but he's going to have a little trip to the steward's office this afternoon. Checker flag does fall for him, so he finishes second, but he's been given a black flag, so surely he won't finish second. which I assume will promote Stefano Guy into third place. Are you happy now, Mark? It looks like it.
Well, I think Mrs. Mark is more than happy.
Here comes Stefano Guy then. It's going to be second position for him ultimately once the stewards have had their way. Car number 16 is still under investigation for that. Oh, car 16 now. That's our race winner is under investigation for a pit stop infringement. So hopefully that won't affect the story of this race. Checker flag falls for our second place man then. Third on the timing screens for Stefano Guy. Best lap on that last lap for Dominic Baumann. So finally the slicks work.
Yeah,
as you say,
the transition is about at 38.39 and fastest lap 37.026.
The 12 car, Jesse Lane, crosses the line to come across the line in fifth, but that will, I think, ultimately be fourth in the Lamborghini. So the Lamborghinis started on the fourth row of the grid, I think, ultimately. So they'll be very pleased with a second and a fourth in that race. There's Gregory Gilbert coming around. Well, I guess he didn't see the checkered flag, so he's probably come past it to make sure he gets the checkered flag.
Quite rightly too.
Yeah.
He didn't get the checkered flag because the flag marshal hadn't raised the flag up. You could see his face going, oh. I assume that is not an honorary flag marshal as we have sometimes in North America, where they have a guest to wave the checkered flag.
Didn't
Pele? Bit of a schoolboy error?
Yeah,
let's put it the pensioner error. Looks like that more to me.
Pele missed the checkered flag, I think, at the Brazilian Grand Prix a couple of years ago. But they're second place for the Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini for Gerhard Twereza. But, as we said a moment ago, black flag he has been awarded, so I can't imagine that position will stand. The position will stand for the 16 car of Gregory Gilbert amid a bit of confusion. Mark Sword not 100% sure, but he's still under investigation for that pit stop infringement.
We don't know what the infringement was, but all of a sudden on the last lap we're advised that there has been an infringement. So everything from first to second clearly will be under not under protest, under investigation.
Yeah.
And we may have to wait until after our broadcast concludes before we know what happens. But we'll of course bring it to our viewers tomorrow.
Of course, and you can always keep up with all the FIA GT3 European Championship information on gt3europe.com and also the social media outlays of GT3. But at the moment, it's a very happy Gregory Gilbert. It'll be interesting to see. I know Mark Sword doesn't speak much English. We spoke to Gilbert earlier, didn't we? So maybe he'll know. Well, I doubt he will, actually, because he seems pretty chuffed and he's in the car. But someone down there hopefully will know what the pit stop infringement investigation is for. But he's very happy as he makes his way back into the pit lane.
He may not even be aware that he's under investigation.
Absolutely.
The team may have not wanted to look at this. There we go.
Well, He says he couldn't hear the radio. I think I just got there. They're having this discussion. The car will be on the drivers will be on the podium.
Yes, but
until
it's
the FIA make a decision.
Yeah, but these are provisional results, and until the FIA make a decision, now, I've suggested maybe the radio was a problem, but he's got eyes. He's got somebody in the pit wall. I hope they've got a pit board. You don't rely. It is fundamental in motorsport. You don't rely on radio communication because inevitably it'll fail.
Yep.
It's funny, it always fails after an incident. Now, is that coincidence, or is that just me being cynical?
I wouldn't describe you as cynical, John. I definitely wouldn't. So, race win for Gregory Gilbert and Mark Sword. Again, they are under investigation for a pit stop infringement, but exactly what that's for and how that will manifest itself and whether it will manifest itself, we'll find out later. Big kiss on the cheek. Good chums.
Good job, a very good job done by both drivers. One clearly more senior than the other, but it just goes to show that Mark Sword, capable of doing a strong job, took the lead, defended staunchly, and handed over to his partner with the car in the lead.
Well, there they are. Let's see if we can hear from them, Gregory Gilbert and Mark Sword.
Congratulations, Greg. One win under your belt and another one maybe tomorrow?
Yeah, hopefully we will win the race tomorrow. No, Mark Sword did a really good job, good start, and I just finished the race. We keep the wet tire, and I think it was the good choice because our tire is brand new. I'm really happy for the team, Saint-Eloque, and for us.
We know there was a possible pit stop infringement. Was it just a case of the timing?
Yeah, it was just for the timing. Yeah.
So your pit stop was too short?
Shorter than another team, because when you put the wet soft tire, you lose time on a pit lane.
Do you think you did anything wrong in the pit stop?
No, we did nothing wrong.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, he's very sure that they did nothing wrong, but of course he was out in the car driving, so that 16 car still under investigation. Black flag for car 11, Gerhard Torreser and Philippe Sledeka. After an entertaining race they were given a drive-through penalty for a contact earlier on. They didn't take that drive-through penalty, and as a result, up there, all the big decisions are being made in what is the steward's office up here at Nogaro in race control. 11 has been removed from second position by the FIA. Let's see what they think about that. They're down with Haley.
A terrible mistake made by yourself. Can you explain what was happening out on track?
Yeah, I really didn't know exactly because I didn't saw a drive-through or I didn't saw a black flag. I drove my race and I had a problem with the radio. It was out, so I had no connection with the team. And yeah, we have to look. I think the drive-through is because of the mistake of Philip with the Audi. I don't know exactly, but yeah, I did my best. The car was quite good, and yeah. Now we have to look what happened with this penalty.
Thank you.
So we can confirm that they have been removed from the results, and we're still not sure what's going on with the 16 car of Gregory Gilbert under investigation for pit stop infringements, but we have seen 3 of those infringements so far today, or investigated infringements, and none of them have ended in a penalty. So with any luck, Marc Sord and Gregory Gilbert, after an excellent race, will retain their winning position. So that means then that second place goes the way of Stefano Guy and Michael Lyons. We heard from Michael earlier on. He had a decent start, but then struggled a little bit in the wet. They too were the other team to stick with their wet tyres, which proved to be the best decision. And that also means that the number 1 car of Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch, after Buch took the start, took the lead, made the mistake at the first corner, they will end up on the podium in the end. Yeah,
and they took that very brave decision to go to slicks. They were absolutely convinced the right thing to do. They've benefited out of it ultimately, but not necessarily as a consequence of that decision. And it was literally on the last lap that we saw in the best part of 35 minutes or so from the point when the pit lane window opened, that the slick tyre was then quicker than the wet weather tyre.
So they're about to come out onto the podium, but presumably they've run down and rounded up Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch here at the first round of the 2012 championship, the Coupe de Pack. As we said earlier, 12 cars only out in the field, but what an entertaining race it was. It certainly gave us more than enough action out there, but we are expecting more cars out for the Zolder round in 2 weeks' time. A great little circuit for GT cars is Zolder. Out onto the podium then is going to come, who is going to emerge out of the gloom. It's our race winners, Marc Sord and Gregory Gilbert. Get a massive round of applause. Second place for Stefano Guy and Michael Lyons, and they have run down the pit lane and rounded up Dominic Baumann and Maximilian Buch. Again, third place. It could have been much more if they hadn't run wide at the start, if they hadn't made the wrong decision to change to slick tyres, but a podium, not a complete disaster.
Well, I mean, everybody's got an if somewhere in a race that they could say, if I hadn't this or that or the other. Fact is, you're the victim of your own actions, and you take your options, you take your chances, and 90% of them, or maybe more, work for you. But in those very difficult wet conditions at the start of the race, it was just too big a punt.
French national anthem, French drivers, French team on the top step of the podium in France. It's been a dream weekend so far for the Sainz-Lock Racing team, and it can only, well, no, it can't only improve. That's tempting fate, isn't it? But they could end up with 2 teams up there tomorrow as they start race 2, locking out the front row of the grid. And it is, in fact, that pairing, Sword and Gilbert, who'll be on pole position.
Yeah, and what we have to look forward to is maybe a dry race, and in which case then we will have a different outcome necessarily, because we've got the pace of the Ferraris again starting in the second row. Michael Lyons and Stefano Guy, who here are taking their second place awards. Michael Lyons looking about 15, I think, today, and the other Ferrari of Giuseppe Ciro, and our Venezuelan Ferrari, I should say, starting alongside in the second row. So may not be quite as easy for Audi tomorrow as it has appeared to be this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. So trophies aloft on the top step of the podium, and Marc Sword and Gregory Gilbert absolutely delighted. Great to see such a big crowd have stayed around till 5:45 local time to see the race and to celebrate on the podium with the drivers. Of course, it's not far home really for many of these people, who I'm sure live in the little town of Nogara that we are just outside. And wow, trophies galore. They're not going to have enough hands, are they? So they're getting some local gifts.
Do you know what they're going to get? I guarantee they're all going to get a beautiful, fresh foie gras, because we are in the heart of the foie gras country.
Well, apparently it's some kind of liqueur. We are in, of course, the Armagnac region.
Well, I'll take the prunes in Armagnac. And of course, that with a bit of vanilla ice cream on a lovely Sunday afternoon in the summertime goes down a treat.
Excellent. Well, good. I'm not really sure what to say to that. You promised us some Armagnac prunes and ice cream, but you haven't delivered yet.
Check them out in the supermarket. They're ridiculous.
So the drivers receive their local gifts. Marc Sword throws away his Pirelli cap. Of course, the Pirelli tyres, brand new this year for GT1 and GT3, and they played a crucial role in deciding this race. Marc Sword and Gregory Gilbert taking the victory here. The second FIA GT3 European race of the season and of the weekend comes up tomorrow. You'll have to be up a bit early. We start our coverage at 9:30 local time, with the race kicking off at 10:20. And so that should be hopefully just as entertaining as our race today. Only 12 cars out in the field, but it was more than enough.
Well, you can never deny a wet to dry race is always exciting. And, you know, many years ago, the thought of having racetracks install sprinkler systems to, again, get away from the kind of professionalism that every form of motorsport now enjoys, and throw in the dice, make it a less predictable outcome. Here today, nature did it for us, and we had a race where there was lots of action and lots of overdriving, lots of mistakes, and some of those will be paid for quite heavily this evening.
Let's have a look at the classification, shall we? Audi win then, ahead of Ferrari, surprisingly, ultimately, because of the pace they showed in the damp conditions early in the race. They managed to make their way through. Cunning pit stop strategy from Lyons and Guy to finish second. Mercedes third, Lamborghini fourth. So 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. Then the second Audi, Jeroen de May and Dino Lunardi will be happy, despite their incident, to end up in 5th position. 6th place for the second Heiko Motorsport Mercedes, Max Nilsson and Mika Vähämäki. Niamarim and Campanico, the first people to gamble on the dries, didn't work out for them. They were running in 4th position, finishing down in 7th place. Toril and Ryabov in 8th place. So the stewards up there having a busy day, and there are our 2 race winners. Excellent performance from them, and they are going to be very, very pleased. Can they repeat it tomorrow? They're starting from pole position alongside their Sainz-Lock Racing teammates. The broadcast gets underway at 9:30 local time, and we will see you then tomorrow. We've also got the GT1 race coming up tomorrow as well. So from me and John Watson, Haley Coxon in the pits, it's a very goodbye.